Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob about speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. I'm at the location that I thought I covered last time I was in Madrid, but it turns out that I didn't. So I am covering it now. So this is Parque Juan Carlos, a place we actually used to come to quite frequently. Not because of the pyramid in the background or whatever, because that's not super interesting these days. But yeah, that was a feature for us. I mean, you can see those random sculptures and stuff around. I'm going to try and see if I can do a bit of a scenic route. That being said, I am in a little bit of a hurry, just because I had to actually I had to delay my plans for today because of some recording reasons and whatever. You don't really care about that stuff. What you do care about, actually, is what I'm going to talk about in the meantime. So, I really want to mention two things this particular week. Well, three actually. First of all, the reason that I wasn't around, which of course, I'm in Madrid. So, no, that kind of explains most of it. But actually, what the nature of this Easter break has definitely been altered somewhat from what it was supposed to be. So, the idea originally was that my parents were going to come up and visit. They were going to stay in Madrid, and I was going to go and join them, and we're going to spend the week together, or 5 days together, basically. And it was actually suggested that I should look into just staying with my best friend, you know, from Madrid, who accommodated me in the past, actually, and so we arranged that, so I was there for 2 extra days. And the reason I wasn't streaming those days was because I was with him the whole time, and I thought, well, you know, it makes sense. You know, I'm not going to disturb his sleep because I'm sharing a room with him, for crying out loud. I'm not going to, you know, disturb him, his mother, his sister. Like, there's no point. So that's why those 2 days are supposed to be, well, not supposed to be covered by people, but of course, I thought maybe one of those days would be a cover stream of some kind. And then, but yeah, as it turns out, because Ghosty and Emily are always hyper eager, it seems to have a new cursed Gacha review. Then both days were covered. And the third was because my parents' flight got cancelled, and then they had to rearrange, and they had a later flight. So basically, I stayed for. I stayed for an extra day, and then made my way over during the following afternoon. So that's what happened to us. I'm trying to remember which way I should probably take you, considering the time. I'll just go this way. Somewhere down there was just the stadium where my brother used to play football matches. What else? Yeah, so that's why there was an extra, you know, day. So thank you to Ghosty and Emily. I know I thanked you in private already, but you know, just also because, my goodness, yeah, you come in clutch for that. I mean, it seems like you were far worse off towards the very end, considering that your breathing stream ended up being worse, apparently. I say apparently because I haven't had time to sit down and watch the VODs yet, because even while here, of course, you know, plans are still happening. The reason I'm alone right now is because I'm filming Walking Wednesday, otherwise I would probably... We kind of all split up today, and we're going to reunite sometime later. That's why I'm in a rush right now. Yeah, so that happened. I forgot what point I was trying to make based on that. Oh yeah, so that's why I haven't been able to see, I haven't sat down and seen all of them yet. That being said, I've been told to not bother with them, which is a bit of a strange idea. Considering I can't monetize any of the videos, most likely, then yeah, it's going to be that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, you know, we made a return yesterday, and of course, and the day before actually. But yesterday was particularly interesting, even though it was super short. But for reasons I will get back to after a little bit, because I want to talk about the Minecraft movie a little bit first. Just because normally whenever I watch a movie and I, you know, want to dedicate Walking Wednesday to just that, but so much has happened this week that you know, not really possible. So I'm not going to be breaking down the Minecraft movie itself. There isn't too much to break down, especially if you see the Playmobil movie, or you know what the story of that was, structurally speaking. In terms of the individual scenes, there absolutely is a lot to say. But I'm not going to be the one to say it for right now. The one thing that I actually will talk about as far as the movie goes happens towards the very beginning, actually. And it is something that was the reason why I chose to watch it in Spanish. Not because I needed to, because this one, in Madrid there are some cinemas that actually do offer, you know, what they call voce original española. So original voice and Spanish subtitles. Which, to be honest, is kind of interesting now that I think about it, because that used to be how our English teachers would play videos for us, and that used to be the thing that everyone complained about, because obviously they don't want to focus on English. But of course, but since then, you know, the exact same people, I suppose, you know, having grown up now, and also having realised that the benefits of the original language of, you know, anything really. Yeah, they've completely changed their tune. Now I'm the one saying that, you know, there's merit to Spanish dubs in general. As a live-action movie, it's difficult to say, because live-action dubs are always worse than animation ones, because obviously they're replicating what happens in a different context with just studios, essentially. But yeah. That's not what I was going to talk about. I wanted to watch the Minecraft movie in Spanish particularly because I was curious, because the one piece of marketing that I have you know, cared about or paid any attention to regarding the Minecraft movie was Afnal's community post saying that she was in the Minecraft movie. Now I recalled an experience when I was watching TV a couple of years ago, and I was, you know, flicking through channels, and I came across this this series that was done by somebody that I thought I recognised. It turns out I did recognise them. That was it. It was Law DIY, pretty well-known YouTuber who had actually been the subject of a Smoyoho song, which is where I recognised her from. So it was kind of surreal to see a YouTuber dubbed into Spanish in that way. I mean, of course, that would be what happened. But yeah, I mean, for crying out loud, how can I pass up the chance to discuss how can I pass up the chance to hear my favorite YouTuber? Well, I say, yeah, my favorite YouTuber. How can I pass up the chance to witness them, you know, on the big screen, and hear what she sounds like in Spanish? So it's like, okay, well, in that case, we went to see it. We caught one of the Spanish viewings, and sure enough, she was in one of the early scenes. I won't give too much context, but she was one of the early ones. And, you know, I was very excited. I pointed at the screen because obviously my best friend and, you know, his friend who came with us don't know who she is. So like, I pointed at the screen, like, that's her right there. So I was like, all right, any moment now, we're going to hear her for the first time. Any moment now, she's going to have a line. Any moment now. She doesn't talk. I requested to watch the movie in Spanish, to hear what she sounded like, and to hear who had potentially dubbed over her, and she doesn't talk. Is it my fault for not checking IMDb first? Yes. but also again, it was part of like wanting to be a surprise. That's the thing, you know. That's why I don't watch trailers as well. I don't understand why I would ruin the surprise of something that I already have full intention of seeing. That's the thing. If it's something that I'm on the fence about, then yeah, sure. A trailer will, you know, could convince me to check something out or to not. But with the Minecraft movie, you know, I've been waiting for a literal decade for any sort of Minecraft movie because they announced they were planning something in 2014. So, yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, my fault entirely. We enjoyed the movie though. That's one thing we'll say. You know, another thing about that is that, of course, you know, the trailers painted such a bad picture of it that seemed no one was going to check it out. I also remember people talking about one thing someone mentioned was that apparently they thought that all of Steve's lines essentially would just be him pointing at stuff and saying things, which, for the record, Jack Black has done before with Kung Fu Panda. So, you know, it's like that is not surprising to me in the slightest. I don't know why people complain about that. Because honestly, Steve and Poe kind of have a little bit of shared DNA between them, to be honest. Anyway, yeah, that's not true, by the way. He actually does have, you know, very full lines, in fact. And to be honest, as is typical, was probably the most entertaining part of the whole production. Okay, now onto the actual other thing, because I said I was going to talk about the Minecraft movie too much, and I end up doing so. So that's all I'll say for that right now, because I want to talk, before I run out of battery, about Gacha Story. So obviously yesterday was day one of Gacha Story, which is exactly what I called the review in question, or the Gacha review from yesterday. And yeah, I mean, obviously what has graced the airwaves is not exactly the greatest indictment on the app itself, but then again, you could also say that for a large part of the community as a whole, let's say, and in terms of what you know, we've all put on display over the course of the years. So there's that. By the way, another area. I think I just passed by a bunch of areas I used to. That's down there particularly. Used to play a lot there. Yeah. So, but yeah. Honestly, so the best way right now to really check it out, I guess. I didn't look at the videos that were people just demonstrating what the game was like, because I was intending to make my own. Gacha Review also had some rescheduling to do because we said that because Aidan implied that this would be a good day yesterday could be a good day because, you know, Gacha Review, well, the message I got was, you know, Gacha Story comes out on Tuesday. Should we do a stream about it? You know, talking about it and like breaking it down or whatever. To which, of course, yes was my very obvious answer. And now there was no other day specified. So the natural assumption one would make from that is that you intend to stream on Tuesday. You know, the date that was the only date that was mentioned. It got to Tuesday. I reminded Aidan about the stream, and he said that he was busy and would it be better to do it on Thursday, early Thursday. Now, bearing in mind, I am most likely going to end up missing the Barter Bunch stream this week, even though it's Act 2 of Cinderella's Castle. Precisely because because I have a train the next day, so it's already debatable whether or not I'd be doing that. And even if I did stream, I'd have to do it early because, you know, a 4-hour stream, especially when my parents are going to be up even earlier than I do, would just be disastrous. So no, that was not happening. So I don't know when we're going to do that, basically. I mean, I have been playing the game anyway. You know, like because I spent a considerable portion of yesterday going over all that stuff in general. So, you know, should be no surprise in that case. But what I found actually is that there are some people who say, you know, abandon Gacha Life 2, go to Gacha Story. You know, it's a much better game, and etc. and whatever. I think probably in terms of functionality, it is in fact a better game. It's just not what everyone is looking for. But to be perfectly honest, I actually think it has a lot of potential. Before I even knew what Gacha was to begin with, or possibly before it existed, I forget the timeline exactly. Whenever I was at lunch in secondary school, and one of my friends was playing on her phone, and she used to play Episode Choose Your Story a lot, which I didn't know what was called, so I called it Screen Tap the whole time, because essentially it wasn't much of a game, because a lot of the stuff that she actually played didn't involve much of a much choosing between them. But yeah, it was a really fascinating thing in the first place, and I actually looked up a bunch of stuff afterwards. I remember watching a whole, well, not a whole, but a vast Campus Crush series, and that before I played it myself at one point, and I was intending, because I you know, recording my phone was always a hassle, which is going to be an issue for me going forward. But yeah, so none of my Screen Tap series from 2018 ever went anywhere, even though I started 4 in one go, because that's just the kind of thing that I like to do to myself for some reason. Yeah, so, well, there was Campus Crush actually. Someone actually asked me to check out Episode Choose Your Story, like an episode series, recently, and I probably will once I figure out how to, because they want me to do a live series, I think. So as soon as I figure out how to hook my phone up to my computer in that way and have it properly displayed for everyone, I will definitely do that. Because I also want to play some visual novels on Gacha Story. Oh no. Who turned the lights off? Okay, so what actually happened was my battery, I think, I closed my screen down automatically. When I opened it up again, it was basically null and void, and I realized that there was I had very little time in order to actually get to where I was supposed to be. So yeah, the plan was, you know, again, meet up with my parents. We were going to go watch a movie, and yeah, I thought it would take me forever to get this. Like, okay, I'm not going to be able to make it or whatever. And as it turns out, I actually did. So what happened was, I got to the cinema. The movie had started actually. It was still on the trailers basically, and then I went in because you had like seats or whatever. Turns out, you couldn't. Even with my dark vision, it was basically impossible to see where on earth the numberings for the actual the seats actually were. So I was like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do here? Well, I wonder if I can just, this place doesn't look full. I can see the people in here. So let's see, where exactly are they right now? I look to my left, and they're both there, but back row, right by the entrance, with one seat at the very corner, right next to them, empty. So I go down, I sit next to my mum. She says hola to me, and smiles and whatnot. And I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough, all right. I've acknowledged that I was here. Turns out she was just being polite. She didn't actually know it was me at first. Again, it was super dark. my dad pointed out that it was me. It's like, oh, it's you! So, yeah, we had a bit of an interesting reunion. Because I thought she did recognize me, but it turns out the only person to have correctly assessed the situation in its entirety was my dad. So there you go. Okay, what was I was saying about Gacha Story, basically. I'm not going to talk about that other movie now, because, I mean, I could, but that's kind of what got me into somewhat what was the last time. Let's just say it was a bit like Michaela, in the sense of reluctant police officer. Bit slow to begin with, but I really enjoyed probably the last 2/3 of it. That's it, nothing else. Gacha Story then. Because I need to get back and edit this now, because I have to compile it and then also stream in like, I think I've got like about, I know, less than an hour before stream or something, or supposedly. Yeah, so, I better get going. So Gacha Story, what I was saying before about playing Gacha Story, the reason I was comparing it to Episode earlier was specifically because I remember that, you know, like, well, with all things, you know, like how I was instantly mesmerized by Gacha because I was introduced to it by Gacha tubers, and you know, through seeing their videos, and thinking like, huh, I can do that. With Episode, it was much more of a case of, can I do that? Because I wasn't sure. As it turned out, yes and no. So Episode does, or I don't know what it's like nowadays. Bear in mind, this is me talking from like 2015, 2016 time period. So at that point, at least, Episode Choose Your Story had an interface that definitely seemed much more akin to people who knew how to code and program. So it wasn't exactly, you know, the most useful thing for me at that point. So, because actually I narrowly missed out on being part of the computer science program. They changed ICT, which was the use of computers and like the typical stuff of like, I don't know, you know, Microsoft Office, Adobe programs to some degree, you know, your typical things of that time, and compared to computer science, which was much more about you know, learning different types of code language and, you know, etc., things that would have been more useful, you know, going into the next decade, rather than the stuff that, yes, is useful, and yes, we did do a bit of, you know, making like games on Scratch and stuff like that, but it wasn't exactly, it wasn't exactly up to date, let's say. So I narrowly missed that. I believe my brother was the first one to, was in the first year group that they changed that to, so might have been the second. I don't know. He might have more experience in that matter than I do, is my point. But yeah, because of that, I had no hope. I was, well, at least I didn't think so. Could I have devoted time for that? Yes, potentially. Did I also have GCSEs at the time? This is also true. So I never pursued it further, let's say. Because yeah, everything has a learning curve to some degree. But yeah, I will say this, what I managed to do in Gacha Story yesterday, and I guess also today now, because before getting to where I was with Walking Wednesday, also I got some food at a different part of Madrid, and then I went over to a different place and whatever. You know, but from yesterday and today, even like one or the other actually, I have definitely learnt and achieved more in terms of Gacha Story than I probably could have done in the span of 2 years or something with Episode. I see that's a bit exaggerated, maybe like 2 months, I don't know. Because again, I'm not sure what that would have entailed in the end, because I never pursued it. And now, I don't have to. So that's fantastic. Like, I have actually, again, you know, you know me, I like to explore different mediums of storytelling to some degree. I'm not like BB where like I tend to mix as many things as she does, but I definitely like to I like to at least investigate the possibilities behind them, basically. Because yeah, they all have their merits. As I keep saying about, you know, different forms of art. You know, the stuff that you can do in one is not necessarily the stuff you can do in another, and you know, that's where the whole issue of adaptations comes in for certain things, or etc, etc. So yeah, and also, like, for me at least, thinking about like having knowledge of a medium that you want to use to tell a story definitely helps. That's why I also differ from BB in the sense that she doesn't what she used to say was that she liked to write a story first and then work out the medium later. I'm the opposite. I work out the medium first, then I craft the story around that, because most of the time that affects the way I approach it. But yeah, basically I like learning about that. I like looking into it, basically. And yeah, I am really enjoying what Gacha Story has to offer. One thing that is curious, the marketing around Gacha Story, it was relatively minimal. It kind of, like, you know, took a lot of us by surprise what it actually was, because, you know, people were calling it Gacha Life 3 for some time. Similar to how they called Gacha Club Gacha Life 2 before Gacha Club also got renamed. So yeah, it's interesting in that sense. But yeah, one thing that's interesting about that is because, like, one bit of marketing was Charlotte, who developed the game, you know, saying, "Made by me, not lazy loony." And one thing that struck me as interesting when I did my stream yesterday was that somebody, I think it was Prism possibly, and then also Emily chimed in, you know, mentioned a game called Gacha Memories, which apparently was, you know, the original Gacha visual novel creator that I wasn't even aware. Well, actually, I was aware of, kind of. Any game before Gacha Studio, or around the time of Gacha Studio, I guess I should say, it's kind of like, it's a vague, like, mush together, essentially. But apparently there was a visual novel creator that had some pre-generated stories involved in it, actually. But apparently those were taken off the market because of, let's just say, people had justified complaints about the nature of one of the stories that the company themselves provided. And what's interesting to me is that Gacha Memories was developed by Looney, which means that Charlotte made a joke, which Looney obviously had to approve. Charlotte made a joke about Looney being lazy, you know, in the sense of, like, not updating Gacha Life 2 in, you know, nearly 2 years now. And yet all this time apparently creating a game that is similar to one that Looney himself made all the way back in, it must have been 2017. If Emily has nostalgia for it, it was most likely available and relevant in 2017. So yeah, just kind of interesting when you think about it from that perspective. But yeah, like I said, I will say, if those people who are expecting a fix for all of the issues of Gacha Life 2, this is definitely not the game for you. For those who are interested in visual novels, it is absolutely the game for you, like I said. There is a lot that is missing currently, but also a lot that is games. I will say this, it has something that I have wanted in Gacha since Gacha Life, and that is more backgrounds that represent different times of the day. Now, obviously, in the ensuing years since you know, Gacha Life was the most recent Luname game, I definitely learnt how to change the backgrounds so that they would be different types of day, but they've just provided a lot of those for you right next to each other. And some of them are the same backgrounds you would have in other gacha games, but I guess they had multiple versions all along, which is interesting because those were from FreePick. So in that sense, I definitely have to give that to Charlotte, because that part I can definitely say, you know, lazy loony to, let's say. But yeah, regarding anything else, I'm not sure. So, but one thing that I definitely miss a lot is, you know, it's gone back to the type of gacha studio where the outfits are pre-generated, which I don't mind so much. But the problem is that the poses of the characters change based on the outfits, which means that you have to use the very limited facial expressions in order to convey the different emotions of the characters. And there is one thing that, you know, once all the characters set in stone will become increasingly easier for people, is that each character has an option for 6 different emotions. And this can be whatever you want, but they do recommend certain ones, basically. They have like emotes for different ones. So there's definitely a preference or a hierarchy of some kind, but you can do what you want. And that, hold on, is this light green? It is green, let's go. In Madrid, if you see a light that's green, you cross it and don't ask questions. That's how you get places. What was I saying? Yeah, so that's definitely an issue. Like, again, as somebody who has, you know, honed the art of visual storytelling to the best of my ability, green lights, to the best of my ability over time, now going back to something that is more primitive in certain ways, is definitely an adjustment that needs to happen, or the adjustment that I need to get used to. So with that in mind, I guess, yeah, I get that is a drawback for some people. That being said, I can also see how, you know, from the ashes of this crisis will emerge an opportunity, because essentially what this game has done that I don't think anyone's talked about yet is it's reset the learning curve. Now, there's definitely people who will not want to check out this game because they're not into visual novels. They want to stick to what they do. You know, all those amateurs and such, you know, are going to do whatever. But actually, those who have felt hard done by the editing evolution of gacha over the years will definitely appreciate a game that kind of that you know, requires you to, you know, abide by the restrictions. It requires you to be somewhat primitive in some ways, and there's still a lot that you can actually do that spice things up in between. It's just not the same as what you would have had before. So I love that idea of, it's not even an idea, I think it's more of a happy accident, let's say. I like how it turned out, because yeah, I mean, anyone who has tried to start gacha in the last 5 years has most likely felt hard done by, you know, just how high the bar has been raised. And I know that you know, gacha voice acting has a lot of you know, guilt in that matter. And a lot of people, that's not sustainable. But yeah, I mean, even if it's just the case of publishing visual novels, the game itself has a features segment that's not active yet, but it has, you know, most downloaded in history games. It has, you know, top picks of the week. It has Luname's favorites. You know, all of that is coming soon. So essentially, you're not even restricted by YouTube anymore. So for those people who don't want to become gacha tubers necessarily, but want to make their own stories, they have that avenue as well. Like it really is, you know, like opening up so many new branches and resetting so many things, and I really adore it for that. And I think it's definitely annoying now, because like I said, every gacha game has a learning curve, and every gacha game is going to be annoying at first before people start to catch on to it. That's what I said when Gacha Club came out, and that's what I said when Gacha Life 2 came out. Gacha Life 2 stayed that way, but we've talked about that relentlessly in the past. But it's something that people keep, you know, the people haven't been able to acknowledge for some time, because Gacha Club was the most relevant game for much longer than Gacha Life was. Twice the length, I think. If you count like a year and a half compared to 3 years, you know. So the future, I think, is looking up in certain ways. Is looking down in some ways too, because if you look up Gacha Story, you still get people who have, you know, said like, oh, this is a Gacha Story in the past or something. They're not, you know, videos made several years ago, obviously not talking about the app. There's even some people who yesterday made Gacha Story videos using the title Gacha Story, sorry, without using actual app Gacha Story. So from an SEO perspective, they're kind of doomed. They're kind of toast right now. But you know, from most other angles, and also I guess because again, people are going to want to change styles. The chibi style has worked for them for so long. Even like the super chibi one that started from Gachaverse onwards. Even though Gachaverse itself was not around for that long, the chibi style remained, let's say. So that's also worth acknowledging. And yeah, it's not going to be for everyone. That being said, that does bring me to like another thing that I haven't explored yet. But actually, it's the idea of uploading custom images. I haven't tried this yet, other than uploading a custom background from FreePic, which, by the way, does work. We finally have a gacha game with imported backgrounds. That much I give it to Gacha Story as well. So it's not even just the ones that are different times of day. They've made their backgrounds better, but they have also, you know, added new backgrounds on top of that and give the opportunity for you to tell your own. But yeah, what the custom images thing is more of a character point of view. So you're able to upload custom images of characters, which, you know, I am the most curious about that, because it also seems to operate on a multiple emotions basis. Because basically the emotions work as separate images, and therefore probably also separate export codes. Maybe they're exported together, actually. I haven't checked that, because the export codes I've got from Emily have just been for one character, and I have made other emotions as a test from there. So I haven't done the reverse yet. But it does seem like, if done correctly, you could import images of your gacha characters, the same way we do for our PNG tubers, and make stories using those instead. And that would also rectify the idea that there's only, like, again, there's always one body type in gacha games, but specifically this time you can't change the height, you can't adjust any of the different assets behind them or anything. So that's another drawback. I should have mentioned that earlier. But you could with custom images, because that would rely on other games. You know, from their perspective, it also makes a lot of sense, because people will be encouraged to use their other stuff. I will say, I am the most excited to try that feature, and also the most terrified of what other people will do with that feature. Because when we've been given too much freedom in the past as a community in Gacha, it always ends up backfiring in some way. You know, people are always going to find loopholes to stuff because, I mean, again, if you have enough editing knowledge, you could, in theory, make loopholes for stuff. I mean, I already know that next year, in order to make Malwick shirtless again, I know exactly what to do and exactly what I will do to achieve it. So there is that. But yeah, even beyond that, it's but you know, other people could upload, I guess, like images of whatever, essentially, which will probably, you know, raise the rating of the game. And I'm really hoping they don't try to update that to remove that feature, because that will also mess with a lot of other people who want to, you know, make their stories like that. In fact, I'm expecting there to be two factions, basically. I'm expecting people like, oh, are you a new style type of person, or are you an import images type of person, or, you know, as far as like the creator side goes. Or alternatively, you could essentially try both. I personally want to try both because, again, I am really mesmerized by this app. And I feel like once I have everything in place, like I said before, it gets a lot easier. Because I noticed for, like, you know, I did like a test visual novel, basically. And for that, I just kind of what was it? Yeah, I made the dialogue first, then put it in, then made the characters around it, and then changed all the expressions. Yeah, turns out I should have, once I actually had the characters ready, it became much easier. Instead of doing everything separately, you know, for the second test I did, when I knew how to do everything, I changed the color of the boxes and whatnot. Like, I just started to, like, you know, optimize that. I had everything already ready. And once you do that, once you start, you know, and if you have a script, of course, you know, you just, you know, copy, paste, boom. And then copy, paste on the phone is a bit tedious, but whatever. You know, you select whichever thing is available, and then that's it, you're sorted. Personally, I think it's definitely, you know, all the mobile users out there will probably find a lot of the stuff that I found tedious less so. So, again, it's even better for all of those people. The future is looking up, that's for sure. Like, again, there's pros and cons. Like everything in this life, there's pros and cons to it. I get that a lot of people are going to dismiss it immediately, but I would encourage people to at least give it a try. If nothing else, check out, once they're available, the visual novels. You can export those and send to your friends if you want them to see them privately or whatever. Or you can see how the download feature works, which I personally don't know how it works yet. So that's another thing to look into. And yeah, do something of that nature. I'm excited, that's for sure. So yeah, any moments where I've been out and about, I've just been with my phone and actually, you know, on the go, learning what there is to learn. And once I have some images ready, I will definitely continue said learning process until such a time as Aidan and I actually decide that it is time for us to demo that video, and we actually have a moment where we can stream at the same time. And once my technology stops, you know, malfunctioning at certain times. All those things together, but we'll see. For now, let's see what the future holds. So please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.